Hi everyone. Stack and heap is one of the most confusing topics in Java. Most people memorize definitions and forget everything in interviews. In this video, I'll explain Java memory so simply that you will never forget where variables and objects actually live. So, when a Java program runs, where does memory comes from? And where exactly are variables and objects stored? So, in Java mainly uses two important memory areas, that is stack and heap. Now, if I show you what is a stack, stack looks something like this. Stack memory is used for method calls and local variables. Stack memory is used for storing method calls, local variables, and reference variables. In stack, each thread has its own stack, and stack follows a last in first out pattern. Now, what is last in first out? For example, in this diagram, you can see that A was pushed into the stack, then B was pushed into the stack, and at last C was pushed into the stack. And now, when we are popping that out, C is coming the first, which means that C was pushed at last but is coming out first. That is called last in first out. In stack, memory is automatically freed. For example, if I show you the code, here we have a void test method in which we have a variable I. This variable I is a local variable and it is stored in a stack, and it is removed when the method finishes. Now I'll tell you what is a heap. So heap memory is used for storing objects in Java. Objects are created using new keyword in Java. Heap is shared across all the threads, that which makes it slower than stack. As in stack, we have individual stack for every thread. Heap memory is managed by garbage collector. So if I'll give you a simple example over here, for example, I have a class CFZ and I've created a reference variable S, and we are creating a new object for our class CFZ. This S is a reference variable which is stored inside a stack, and this stores the reference of our object of class CFZ inside the heap memory. So for example, here we have method print and we have local variable string S. Then we have object O. This object is stored inside heap memory. This integer I is a local variable and is stored in stack, and this object O of this main method is again stored in the heap as an object. For example, we have a class called student, an object called reference variable S, which is new student. Now we created a object for our class student, and we are storing its reference inside a reference variable S, which lives in a stack. So if we visualize it, we have a stack, we have S, and we have a heap memory in which we have a object of student class, and this S stores the address of this object inside the heap memory. So this is how stack and heap actually works in Java. So if we differentiate between stack and heap, so stack stores method calls, whereas stores objects. Stack stores local variables and heap Instance variables. Now you might be thinking, what is instance variable? So for example, if we go in this class and if I write something like int o is equal to 10. Now this o is an instance variable. Stack is specific and heap is shared across the threads, which makes this fast and this is slower compared to stack. In stack we have something like auto cleanup, but in heap it is managed by the garbage collector in the JVM. Now if I conclude, stack memory is simple and fast. Heap memory is powerful but needs garbage collection. Now I'll tell you a common interview question that was asked in many freshers interviews, and it was also asked to me in my college. So let's say we have a class student and we create a object of this class. Now we have created an object of this class and the address of that object inside the heap memory is stored in the reference variable s1. Now I'll do something like this. Now if you think that what we are doing, so many students here think that s2 will create a new object in heap and will point to that. But no, in Java we have this object and its address is stored in s1. So now we are creating a s2 and we are storing that reference into s2. So s2 also points to this object inside the heap memory. To tell you more visually, let's draw a diagram. For example, this is our stack, and for example, this is our heap memory, and this is, for example, our object inside the heap memory. And we created s1 and s1 is pointing to this object. We did something like student s2 is equal to s1. Now we are creating a reference variable and we are storing whatever is inside s1 come to s2, but s1 have the address of that object inside the heap memory, which means s2 will also point to that object and no new object will be created. This is where many freshers fail. So I hope that you understand this, and now let's do a quick recap. Stack stores method calls and local variables. Heap stores object. References are stored in stack and objects are stored in heaps. So, in the next video, we'll break down object-oriented programming in Java with real-life examples. Subscribe if you want Java explained clearly in simpler terms from zero. Thank you.